Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And we are rolling along in April. And it's funny, we had those lovely days, and I was so excited about my spring crocuses and my daffodils and all these other little flowers that are coming up from my fall bulbs. And today here in Scranton, we've got snow flurries going on. So it's like, what happened to spring? And this is not looking like a really good weather week ahead, but we always have laughter and humor to be hopeful about. And it is, as I mentioned last week, my conversation with Gab Benesso, my buddy Gab, and I think it was probably her. We joked it was her 10th time, but it really well could have been her 10th time or 11th time, because Gab and I love just talking, gabbing, of course, and anything lighthearted, focusing on the value of humor and laughter. And I'm happy to keep that conversation going this week. And before I introduced my guest, I usually like to say just how I know my guest, how I was introduced to them, how it came to be, because I like to encourage people to get out of their comfort zones, to maybe be curious, be open to meeting new people and connecting with folks maybe you haven't seen in a while, because I think it's usually a mutually beneficial thing that you can help one another, maybe not right away, but you never know. And the very least, you can learn something and be entertained or educated. So my guest this week is someone that I got connected with because of the Lehigh Valley women who are in comedy, probably Aaliyah Brown. I think that's how I got to get to know her online anyway. And we haven't met in person. Actually, no, that's not true. I think I did get to meet this guest in person when I was doing comedy a couple summers ago, but we don't really know each other well, but I certainly admire and respect what she's doing, and I can't wait for you to learn more about her and what's coming up. So, welcome, Kat Aldrich. How are you?
Hi, so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I caught myself there because we did meet one time,
Very
right?
briefly.
Very briefly, but I remember you were in the audience
Yes,
when I did comedy, and I think it was in the visitor center,
yes.
thanks to a show that Aaliyah Brown had put together. And Aaliyah is awesome. Aaliyah teaches classes. She is always hosting like very fun comedy there in the Bethlehem area in Steelstacks. And she's fantastic, really giving women opportunities, bringing us together. And that's what we're going to talk about, what you've got coming up as far as funny, humorous stuff. But let me learn, because I really didn't get to know you. So let's learn a little bit about you. If you want to just share a little bit about yourself.
Certainly. I've been in the comedy field sort of since about 2012 when Steelstacks first started offering improv classes. I was the first to take their improv classes. I was on their first house team that they launched through their center there. And ever since then, I've been either performing or writing or oh, I even wrote a blog back in 2014 through 2016 about the improv comedy community called Never Done Again. So, of the last 8 years, I've mostly been focused on writing and supporting what I'm friends with pretty much all the people involved in the Lehigh Valley improv community. And I've been a great supporter of them, and I've just loved writing sketches. I've written some sketches for Pigeon City of late, and most recently, I have finally finished my latest project.
And we're going to talk a little more about, well, a lot more about that in a second, but I want to just pause there. And now, do you do, and I'm sorry if I don't remember, so you were doing improv. Have you done, or do you get into stand up as well?
I haven't done stand up since my early 20s. I haven't really done it here in the Lehigh Valley per se, but I did have a stint in my early 20s. I'm now in my early 50s. So it has been quite some time, but I did do a stint of stand up in my 20s in the
Okay.
Northern Virginia area.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Mhm.
Let me ask you before we get into the sketch. And obviously, they're completely different. I myself started in improv, then I did stand up, and I was kind of back and forth. And now I really have been doing stand up, but I kind of miss improv. There's a certain level of freedom and creativity that comes out with that, I think. What would you say, or would you say it's fair to say that you've gravitated more towards improv and sketch, and you're just not as interested in stand up? But I'm sure you appreciate the experience. How do you put
Oh,
that into perspective for yourself?
wow. I appreciate all forms of comedy. I've certainly done all forms of comedy in my past, but now I mostly see myself as a comedic writer. So I have done them all, but yeah, right now I did perform like 2014, 2015, 2016 earlier. Um, but now I see myself more as a writer, occasional performer of improv or, shows that don't require improv, like your diary, for instance. I've done that a couple times where you read entries from your diary.
Oh, wow. That sounds
That was
fun.
great. I've done that show like 3 times and it was great fun. Um, but yeah, I mostly see myself as a writer now, more than, let's say, an improv performer or a stand-up comedian, even though those have been in my past.
Okay. All right. And like you said, they're all there. You appreciate all forms of comedy. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're all very difficult.
Yeah, in their own way, right? Just something
Yes.
different and something rewarding and challenge, but also challenging in different things. I know I forget who I was talking to recently, and they said, that they were scared to death of stand up and they hadn't done it because they said it seems like you have to be so vulnerable and you're on your own. And
Yes.
there is that, but then you can also prepare, you prepare your monologue, and yeah, you might improv a little bit, but with improv, some people might be afraid of that too because there's that whole level of just going with,
You have no idea.
yeah, you don't know what
Anything
you're
could
going to.
happen,
Yes, yeah. And I
and
think there is something.
you may come in with an idea and then it might get stolen from you or sabotaged or it didn't go the way you thought it would or someone else chimes in and you just don't even know where you're going.
Yeah, and that actually I think for me is something I'm probably need right now in my life because there's also that level of letting go, I think too, where like you said, you come in with an idea, but it might totally morph into something different, which is kind of cool too, because you're
Yeah,
along for the ride and just that's the whole point of yes and right. What are they giving me and what can I give back, right?
absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
you mentioned Pigeon City, and for folks, who might remember, Roya Hamadani is someone I've had on the podcast before, and she was recently. I did an online comedy show to benefit the maternal and family health, and Roya was on for that, and I think she actually did give a shout out. She, Pigeon City, right? Pigeon City sketch
Yes,
comedy, and so you
yes.
said you recently wrote a sketch for them.
I Well, it was 2 years ago, I believe. It was called Bridesmaid Duties. And I did recently write a sketch for their show last year, they were doing a best of show. And I did a sex in senior living sketch for that, and that did very well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very proud of it.
Oh, that's awesome. Roya is fantastic.
Roy is amazing.
Yeah.
As is, yeah, and Jaya, who and JJ Ellis, who together, created Pigeon City, and I'm just happy to be a part of its history in a very small way.
That's great. Yeah, it's really cool when you're involved with people that you like and they do great work. It's just like you
Yeah.
said, just great to be part of that collaboration. That's really cool. So let's talk about what you've got coming up is your one woman. Is that what I say? One woman show? Is that the right way
Yes,
to
it's a
describe it?
one woman
Okay.
show, absolutely.
Now you wrote it, but you will also perform it, I assume, right? Or no?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all
So
me. It's
it's
nothing but
all
me.
you. I love it. I love that. And it's called Tumor Baby.
Yes, it is.
Okay, which of course that's an intriguing title. And obviously we want people to go see it in the Lehigh
Mhm.
Valley is where it's taking place. But what can you tell us? Because we don't want to give it away, but can you tell me a little bit about how this came to be? I know you've been working on it for a while, some of those background
Yes,
details.
yes. Okay. This all started actually, I'm going way back. It started in like 2014, and I was gonna write a one-woman show about me and my mother, who was ailing at the time, and we were taking care of her, my husband and I, and it was gonna be like Mind Over Mother, and it was gonna be a show about, me and my mom. And my mom unfortunately passed away. And so my life changed a bit and the show kind of shifted. Didn't really want to write about that so much anymore, put it on the back burner. And then a year after my mom passed away, I discovered I had cancer.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was. So I was still kind of grieving my mom and then getting this news, like from what I thought was just gas pain. I'm in the ER and I'm like, what? And the doctors are like, yeah, it looks like we're projecting a 10-pound tumor
Oh
coming
my
off your
gosh.
left ovary. And so that's the big that's the name of the show right there. It's other stories of my life that kind of lead up, culminate to that story. It's not all about the cancer, certainly not. There's a lot of other funny things that other people can relate to. So, um, although the cancer is what triggered me to write, I'm certainly a huge fan of like Tig Notaro,
Oh,
and she
her.
wrote about her cancer, and Carrie Fisher, when she did Wishful Drinking, had a lot of inspiration on this show. And I thought, I'm a writer and I should be writing about this and what happened, how it happened, and then as I was writing about that, these other instances from my life's past that other people have found hilariously funny, got added in, and I was taking a stand-up class, like Stand-Up 101 with Aaliyah Brown, whom you mentioned earlier. And she says in her class, what's your goal from this class? What do you want from this class? And I said, well, I would love for this to be, a launching off point for me to get started writing a one-woman show. I started it in 2014. I never got it finished, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, well, yeah, let's make that happen. And I thought she was just being nice. She's such a sweet girl. But after we really, I mean, I knew her from before too, and she's a very talented comedian, but she's also really well known for, helping women in the comedy community.
Mhm.
And I just really admire her for that. And she took me under her wing and she goes, we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. I like this idea. This is going to happen. And that was about 2 years ago. And last year we proposed it to Arts Quest and they were like, we love this idea, let's do it. And I've been editing and writing and fine tuning it ever since last year. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
I do want to highlight that as a moment that like women can and should, and we are helping each other. It's so
Yeah.
important because, I'm sure, like it's something you had been working on. And sometimes we just
Yeah.
need that extra push, maybe a little, and I'm not saying you, so don't mind, I mean, myself and
No,
other,
you're absolutely right.
a little accountability, maybe someone that you can check in with who's like, hey, how are we coming along with that? And maybe even just help. Or like, oh, I love
Absolutely.
what you wrote here, but have you thought about, a little bit of collaboration, maybe edit, maybe a little bit of even editorial, like, well, what do you think about moving, that kind of stuff. Would you
Absolutely.
agree? Yeah.
Yeah. This show, I want to really say this. This show would not be happening without Aaliyah Brown. No, this show would not be happening without Aaliyah Brown. She not only mentored me, I mean, hours and hours and hours of her time, and not only that, but just happily so. I mean, she made it a joy and she just really believed in my project, and that kind of the feedback she gave me and the mentorship just meant the world to me. And so if it were not for her, this show certainly would not be happening. I may not have ever gotten the nerve had it not been for her. And she just gave me that push, as you said, and
Yeah.
that accountability. And yeah, she was all that for me and more.
And again, for anyone who may not remember, Aaliyah was a guest on my show also, and she also took part in the online comedy fundraiser I had a couple weeks ago. She was one of 8 comedians who was on there, and she is truly just a happy, joyful person, and always smiling in all of her posts. I see that, and of course, being with her in person, I've gotten to work with her in person before, and she is all of that. And you said not just working with you, but happily. So I could totally
Yes.
see that. That's her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Totally. Totally.
and in a time when, we won't go into the darkness of what's going on, but it's so important to embrace the light and help one another see that we can still do that. And while we still can, let's do it.
Absolutely.
So you have this, wonderful piece that people will get to enjoy. And would you call it a comedy? I mean, I'm sure there's some
Oh,
poignant moments and dramatic.
God, I hope so.
Yeah. I hope so. Well, that's a good way to say it. Yeah. Well, I figured it was,
Yes,
but I would think there's some,
yes.
you're covering serious topics, but I imagine the
Mhm.
goal
I
is
make
that
it
it's
funny.
mostly funny. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, oh no, it's absolutely funny. There's a lot of shameful things of my past in there. There's and I hope I do, even though cancer, as you were just saying, cancer is a very serious topic, but I hope I not only educate a little bit, but I do kind of give you a little room to breathe and laugh about my experience, and which made it all the more easier for me to get over it, recover from.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that was, I would imagine as you were writing this, I don't know, like a couple of years, I guess you were working
Oh
on it.
yeah,
Was it therapeutic for you?
absolutely, most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. I've done that practically all my life. Ever since I've been writing since high school, the tough stuff which I write about has always helped me, just getting
Yeah.
it out, and then hopefully in a humorous way. That's
Yeah.
always the goal.
Now, when you say you've been writing since high school, so a lot of times would you say that's personal and for you, where it's
Oh,
not always like being, coming out in a sketch or stand up, but it's just a lot of times it is for you?
oh yeah, up until very recently, yeah, absolutely. It was just for me, journaling. Um, but recently, yeah, like I said, I've done sketches, and this is my first one-woman show, and now I have another project I'm working on. We won't be talking about that today, but I
Okay.
already know the next one, and so I'm real excited about that too. But yeah, up until the last 3 or 4 years, yeah, it's all been personal for me in the form of journal writing, or just writing comedy pieces just for myself, or just to kind of sharpen my technique. I've taken classes a lot, taken a lot of classes, and so I've written in those classes. But yeah, other than the few sketches I've done, this is my first big deal.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. Now, is this because I know some people will do like more multimedia props. Is this anything like that incorporated?
There's a slideshow for sure. Thanks to my husband, who was my tech on the slides on this. He created the slides for me, and
Nice.
hopefully they will definitely make you laugh as I'm talking about the show and going through the slides. They kind of illustrate the jokes. And yes, there's minimal props, but yes, there are props because I'm trying to go for that. Even though my props are minimal, kind of like, Our Town, if you've ever seen that play, it's trying to create a visual of a living room, where we're just chatting, we're having a conversation. I tried to take from Carrie Fisher's Wishful Drinking on that. When she did that show, she did it with a living room space on a stage. And so I just tried to take minimal pieces to try and make people visualize, okay, she's talking to me from her living room, and I feel safe, I feel comfortable, I feel like this is an intimate conversation.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Now, will you do is it one showing or how are you going to have a few?
This is so far we just got the one, but who
Okay.
knows? There could be another. There could be.
And it's going to be April 13th, is that right?
It's this Saturday, the 12th.
The 12th. I'm so sorry. I messed that
That's
up. Okay,
okay.
so Saturday, April 12th, and tell us the time and location.
Okay, it's going to be at the Steelstacks Visitor Center. 7 p.m. are the doors, and the performance starts at 7:30. And I'd say it's about an hour long show.
Okay. And
Yeah,
people, it would be helpful if they bought the tickets in advance.
now would be great because yeah, we got like 5 days left. Now would be great. And that's at www.steelstacks.org where you can buy those tickets.
Okay. And now this will air on Thursday, so you'll be a little bit closer, but still they have
Yep,
time obviously for Saturday to get the tickets, which is good.
absolutely.
Well, I think it sounds great. I'm sorry, I will not. I mean, not that I live that far, but I'll admit, my as someone with driving anxiety, I go occasionally here and there, and I do, and I have a dear friend in the Lehigh Valley, but I won't make this one. I hope you'll do another showing so that I could see it because it sounds fantastic.
It's highly likely.
Good, good. And I mean, I love seeing all the things Aaliyah's doing and all the other comedians there in the Lehigh Valley. Like I said, I wish I did live a little bit closer because I'd love to be part of so much of what's going on there. And I love that it's so women forward. There's a lot of women comedians, and
Very
I mean,
much.
obviously there's a mix, but I'd love to see the strength from women, performing comedy. I think that's hopeful and inspiring for other young women,
Yeah,
or
Aaliyah's.
women of any age. I should say women of any age. It's never
Oh,
too late to be creative.
I'm not, yeah, there's a few women a bit older, a little older than me. And, Aaliyah's young enough to be my daughter. I mean, all ages, all ages. It's certainly, we welcome anybody who has, the ingenuity to have something to say. There is a community out there for you. Aaliyah and Roya have established a wonderful community with girl comedians, and woman comedian, excuse me.
That's
And
okay.
it's all supporting each other, telling us when the open mics are, or when contest opportunities come up, open mics, all that stuff. Or like me, oh, I got this one woman show this weekend. Hey, go get them. Oh, I need to get tickets to that. Or it's a wonderful, thriving community of women, and we're just all here for one another. And like you were saying earlier, this time that is really a light to see in this world.
Yeah. And I think it is so important. And I've talked about this before, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but at a time when there's so much like negative stuff on social media, it is up to us. And I'll only say that only because a lot of times no one's going to hand you stuff, right? But like it's up to us to kind of curate a little bit so that you don't have to just throw away social media completely. You can hone in on those communities that mean something to you, where you're going to find like-minded people, where they're going to be positive in your life and you can be positive in theirs. And this is a perfect example because I know I'm in the group, I guess it would be group chat or group, whatever it is on Messenger for the Lehigh Valley women
Right.
comedy. I always mess up the name, Women in Comedy, I think it is. Is that right? Yeah, Lehigh Valley Women in Comedy. And it is
Yes.
so nice because people do share if they're having a show, if there's an open mic, and then there's always words of encouragement, oh, that was awesome, you were great, or, break a leg, I can't be there, but I'm sending you positive vibes. And I think, whether it's, it doesn't have to be comedy. If you're someone who's into plants or crafts or whatever, there are groups out there. And
Oh, yeah.
overall, they are supportive and it's a place for you. I mean, if you just don't want to be on for the news, the negative stuff, just focus on the good stuff because it is on there.
Absolutely. It's not all bad, just like everything else. Not everything is bad, not everything's great, but you gotta hunt for it, look for it, ask for it, and you'll find it. You'll find your tribe. It took me a while to find my tribe when I moved out here from Northern Virginia. It took me, Steelstacks didn't come into play for like 3 years after I moved here, and I had no one coming from Northern Virginia. I just moved here with my husband and my kid, and it took Steelstacks being built around 2012 for me to really find my tribe. But once that got in place, I found my community, and the show talks about that,
Oh, that's
about what
fantastic.
they did for me at the end when I announced my diagnosis. And there's an amazing story about that community, that improv comedy community, and how they showed up for me and what they did for me. And it's a really touching moment in the show.
That's wonderful. And it is, sometimes you're right, it does take time, especially when you're
Yeah,
relocating like that. And you had been, obviously you had your connections in Virginia,
right.
where you were doing comedy, but then you had to
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of reestablish or reconnect, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it took a moment, but I'm so glad I found it, because once you find your tribe, it's everything.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right because it does make the harder stuff in life a little easier. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it just gave me an outlet in so many ways, not only friendships, mentorships. It's how Never Done Again, my blog got born. It's all the classes I took were most of them were through Steelstacks Arts Quest. I got so much out because they do so much for the community. They're always offering not only great shows, but great classes and opportunity to meet like-minded people like yourself, and, to connect with it via subjects that you want to take, not just comedy, but sketch writing and improv. And if you want to do it in the Lehigh Valley, chances are there's a wonderful class for it at Arts Quest.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody, and I'll put that in the show notes, the link, because it really is Steelstacks is great, Arts Quest, all of that. There, whether it's music, whether it's comedy, whether it's, there's always really cool things happening there. Films, all types of things
Yeah.
for you, even if you don't want to create it yourself, but just enjoy it. Obviously, you need audience members too, right? You got to get them
Yes.
there to
Yes.
appreciate what you're creating, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me ask you, what this is just aside from the show, who are some folks who've influenced you? I mean, from any time frame or genre. You mentioned Tig Notaro, and
Yeah.
she is someone, and I think I've mentioned her obviously before on the podcast, how she kind of, I don't want to say made history, but she certainly got people's
She
attention
did.
when she went on stage at Largo in California after her cancer diagnosis, where she was just incredibly raw, but also funny.
It was
And
so amazing.
she's like dry humor, but she is just fantastic. So obviously, I'm guessing you're a fan of hers, but
Oh, huge,
who else,
huge.
or either talk a little bit about how she's influenced you, or whoever else you enjoy that's kind of touched you.
Well, not only her, but the show talks about Gilda Radner and her influence on me. So you'll definitely be seeing that talked about in the show at the end of the show. And it's very poignant and very touching. She was just the first woman on TV who made me laugh, and back when I was a very little kid, when I was like 6 or 7. I mean, it was a different time. So my mother let me watch Saturday Night Live. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, they raised their
Me
kids
too.
different. And I was allowed to watch Saturday Night Live. My mom didn't care. And I would be imitating her characters and, recreating them in my room, being Judy Miller, or Candy Slice or, you um,
Rosanna Dana.
Rosanna. I loved her so much. And so she definitely is my biggest comedy influence.
Mm.
She's been with me my whole life, and that's mentioned in the show, and I really think people will find it very, very touching.
Now, Gilda had, I believe, was it ovarian cancer?
Just like me, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like me.
And she was, I mean, I've seen just different specials on her, seemed to be like a very lovely soul, like a wonderful person.
There'll never be another one.
Yeah.
There'll never be another her. She's just, there was something so unique about her. We were talking about Aaliyah Brown being such a light. That's what she was, such a light. I can't imagine anybody going, Gilda Radner of her. No, that just doesn't happen. When
Yes.
usually when somebody mentions Gilda Radner, their face lights up. They're like, oh God, I loved her too. Tig
Yeah.
Notaro, as we were just discussing, I got the chance to meet her in
Oh.
2016. We shared an elevator.
Now, what was that like?
Well, she said she wasn't feeling that well, but obviously she did a show that evening, and we were at the hotel, me and my girlfriends, and she happened to get on the elevator that me and my girlfriends got on as we were returning to our hotel rooms, and we're all just like standing at each other, like, and I'm like, I just love the new show you're working on with Jennifer Aniston. She's like, thanks. And you can tell she's just over it. But I forgive her. I forgive her. She wasn't feeling so great, and there's only so much you can take after you've done a whole show. It's like she was spent, but I love her. And anytime I get the chance to see her comedy, I go
Yeah.
for sure.
She's something. I have not gotten to see her in person. I have seen, her different specials, and I listen to the Handsome podcast every week. Her and Martin and Fortune Feimster, and it's
Mhm.
just to hear them. The ease with which they just banter is just fun and delightful. It's
They
just
they
really
are
silly.
incredible. All three of those comedians, I have really enjoyed their stand-up specials. Tig's the only one I've met and gone off to see. But I'm gonna be looking for the other two, like if they come through town, because they are hilarious as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortune Feimster is just, it's so funny how often she'll say something. And I'm just like, yeah, like you can relate to different, to each of them at different weeks, I feel like. But with her, she's another one who's like very joyful. Like I just feel like
Hmm.
she doesn't have like even like talking about being gay and how she's been, treated or scared in certain, you know what I mean? Like not feeling
Yes.
welcome, but yet she never sounds bitter, never sounds
No,
angry. She's a very lighthearted person and very joyful.
absolutely. I saw her Netflix special last year. Oh my God, it was a riot, you know? And whether you're gay or not, you find yourself going, I know what you're saying. I get that. We're all so more alike than we're not. And
Absolutely.
she is. She's lovely. The latest special she did when she was talking about how she met her now wife and how that's her early first years of marriage or it's like, oh, I've gone through that with my husband. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
her relationship with her mother, which is hysterical. Her mother
Yes.
is adorable. And just, I mean, again, who amongst us hasn't had like these funny
Hmm.
instances with our mother, or the things that moms come off with, some of the things they say. I mean, it is very relatable. And I like what as you said, we're more alike.
We're
And I
more
think
alike
if
than we're different.
unfortunately we're not seeing that, I think as a country right now, but hopefully we'll get to that place again where we can go, you know what, we're more alike than we are different.
We
We
really
want to
are.
be loved. We love our, our families. We care about our families. We care about making a living, making an impact in our lives. I mean, all of that. We all want that, I think.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, as we start to wrap up, I want to thank you for your time. I
Oh,
want to thank you for creating what you're creating, because I know that's important. I know a lot of people will relate to it and can certainly use the laughs right now. So yes. Anything else you would want to add? Like I said, I'll put the links in the show notes, but anything else that you, and of course, big shout out we have to Aaliyah Brown for helping Kat to make this happen, but anything else you wanted to mention?
that's what I really wanted to come across with was this would not happen without Aaliyah. And other women have helped me on the way. My friends have been so great, and I want to thank you for having me on this wonderful podcast and spreading the word about it. That just means so much to me when people take the time, in addition to money, to invest, in my ideas, my thoughts, in now a one woman show. It's that stuff is valuable, and people really need to recognize that when people give their time of you and spend their money on your project. That really means more than anything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And congratulations. This is great.
Thank you.
I hope you take the time to sit back and just feel good. You know what I mean? Cuz I don't think women do that enough. So congratulations to you, and just take the time to enjoy the feedback and the applause and all that good stuff.
Thank you so much. This has been so wonderful, and I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna kind of echo what Kat said there and say that, it is important, and we want to thank folks who do give their time and who do give their investment of money and time, because, as someone here, I produce shows in Scranton, and it is so important, and I'm always grateful to folks. That's why I say get your tickets, because I've had to cancel shows when we don't have enough tickets sold. So it means something. Don't think it goes unnoticed. It really does mean something when you buy those tickets, and when you come out and show support, or even if you can't make the show, or you share it, you tell other people and they come to the show. That all has value, and it means a lot to us, so we really do appreciate that. So I want to thank my listeners as always. In the coming weeks, April is National Humor Month, but it is also Financial Literacy Month. So I will have my podcast sponsor, Emily Hickox of Hickox. I'm sorry. These days I have to, like, I'm gaslighting myself where I don't know. I'm like, what am I saying? Emily Hickox of Budget Through Life, my sponsor. She'll be talking about different financial tips. And I'm sure, I know if you're anything like me, my ears always open to that kind of stuff. And then my other podcast sponsor, Gabby Lynn, who just came on this year sponsoring the podcast, she has Reinvented Threads, and she is in the Lehigh Valley area, but you can also shop from her shop online, reinventedthreads.com. She will be a guest because we've got Earth Day right around the corner, and Gabby is all about social responsibility, and she gets her fabrics from, consignment shops and yard sales, and she creates beautiful handbags and hats and all kinds of really cool products, because we don't need to add more to the landfills. So we'll be talking about that stuff coming up too. So I want to thank you as always for listening. And as I say every week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.